When I say transforming robots, what comes to mind? Probably Transformers, Optimus Prime, Megatron, robots in disguise. But at the same time Hasbro was starting the process of rebranding Japan's Diaclone and Microman toys, Tonka started rebranding the Micro Robo toys, calling them GoBots. They even had their own TV series with these unbelievably creative theme song lyrics. But the GoBots soon became StopBots as they were quickly overshadowed by Hasbro's Transformers toys. By 1987, they were discontinued and delegated to the bargain bins, barely remembered as the poor man's Transformers. But wouldn't you know it, the same year the toys were discontinued, there was a home video game created for the series released in Europe, named after the TV show Challenge of the GoBots. For the Commodore 64, Sinclair Spectrum, and Amstrad CPC, which I don't have, but here's a head crab. And I can't find much information on the game at all online other than a couple of old reviews and magazine ads. Whatever the case, it does exist, being published by Reactor and designed by Tony Crowther and Ross Goodley. And yes, that's Anthony Crowther, who was basically a legend among Commodore 64 game designers, known for his efficiently made, creative, and enjoyable games with awesome graphics and sound. Games like Blagger, Loco, and Monty Mole. Apparently these guys also had a sense of humor, as evident by the packaging blurbs. Guide Leader 1 on his most daring mission yet, you must stop the evil Gog from destroying your friends on the planet Mobius. If you fail, not only will your chums meet a death worse than fate itself, but the Earth will be invaded by lots of horrible green things with an enormous appetite for scooters. Can you save the world? Can you load the game? That last one I really don't know. Special features include really ugly enemies and an incredibly smug hero. This sounds like it could be in the back of a Duke Nukem or Serious Sam game. The snarky remarks continue in the instruction booklet. I especially love this part where they're describing the enemies. It is at this point that I could present you with an impressive table of baddies and their points. What is the point, I ask you, when you will no doubt see them in the game and kill them regardless of point value? That's a good point, actually. I probably wouldn't read it, even if it was here. So the package itself is full of win, but what about the game? Let's take a look at the Spectrum version first. You'll notice there are 2 tapes in the package. The first one contains the game on one side and a digital GoBots book on the other. Loading this gives you a GUI screen with the ability to read the comic book style story of the GoBots and whatever they do. This is totally unnecessary to the game itself, but it's a really cool addition and is easily one of the earliest ebooks that I'm aware of, at least to come with a game. The second cassette contains another unique addition, an audio cassette titled The Challenge by Robert Schroeder, and it's surprisingly awesome.
The commander of Leader 1 is you. The destiny of the free world is now in your hands. Let battle begin.
Enough mid-80s rad, let's get to the game itself. After several minutes of loading, staring at the disappointingly bland loading screens, you're greeted with animated menu text and some rather awesome music, at least on the 128, as the 48K Spectrum has no music, but it's the same thing otherwise. You can then customize the game's keys, change these settings, or start the game. Just press fire to start and you take control of Leader 1 and are dropped onto planet Mobius, presumably to save your chums from a horrid death and save the scooters. But, that wasn't fun at all. After tweaking some of the settings a bit, I was able to control things a little better and actually play for a few minutes. As you'll notice, the game is a horizontal shooter of sorts, similar to games like Defender and Chopper Command, at least on the surface. But the biggest difference between those games and this one is the gravity system. You see, there are 2 bits of land to the level, both on the bottom and the top of the screen. Gravity is in effect by default, so you're constantly being dragged toward either the top or the bottom of the screen, depending on which you're closer to, and the very middle being the middle, where gravity is. Once you get close enough to land, you'll transform into a walking robot, either upside down or right side up, and you can pick up boulders from the ground and use them as weapons. And while you're in the air, you can shoot lasers anytime. However, you can only kill most of the regular enemies with the rocks or lasers, and the entire goal of the game is to destroy these white bases which look like igloos, or eyeballs, or the technodrome. But in order to destroy these, you'll have to pick up the scooters and drop them like bombs onto the bases. So wait, you're supposed to be saving these scooters from the alien menace or whatever, right? But in order to save them, you have to destroy them. That's some screwed up cult logic if I've ever heard it. That'd be like throwing the humans at the UFOs in Defender. Whatever the case, once you destroy all the bases on the level, you move on to the next, which looks almost exactly the same as the previous level, and you do it all over again. Personally, I can't make myself do this for more than a few minutes for a couple of reasons. First, the controls, they are just friggin' awful. Moving left and right is just a huge chore, simply because of the way you have to make Leader 1 change directions. Like, if you're on the ground, you can only shoot in one direction unless you go up and land again, otherwise you'll just be moonwalking. You have to go up into the air and try to turn, and it's just awkward. It's made even worse by the way the screen scrolls. You basically have to be on one side of the screen to move, and then wait for the rest of the screen to catch up and move with you, effectively freezing you in one spot until the screen is ready for you. This is infuriating when you're trying to double back and bomb a base or outmaneuver an enemy, and even with the settings tweaked way down, it's just too twitchy to be enjoyable for me. In fact, it made me sick, as in I actually got motion sickness playing this version of the game. Not to mention the bland color palette really makes it tough to see what's going on at those higher speeds. Most everything is green and blocky, and it's often easy to bump into something that will insta-kill you. And that's made even more annoying due to the incomplete hit detection. Sometimes it's fine, other times you'll just be killed for being different, I guess. It's just a bunch of little stuff, and it adds up to an annoying experience. Right, so let's move on to the Amstrad CPC version. Yeah, it's almost the exact same thing. It's still got the same menu and cool music, and it sounds quite nice. There are the obvious additional colors, which make things easier to see and more pleasant to look at, and for some reason it's slower from the get-go. And that's nothing but a good thing. Even at default settings, I find this version to be much more playable than on the Speccy. It's less choppy, and it's easier to see where you're going and what's going on. The collision detection seems to be improved somewhat, and the weird screen scrolling is still there, but it's not nearly as bad as on the Spectrum. It's still rather annoying to change directions, though, and it still takes some serious getting used to, but I found it to be more approachable than the Spectrum port. So yeah, between the Spectrum and the Amstrad, there's no doubt the latter wins. Of course, that's like saying, which pile of crap would you like to eat today? I'd rather not eat either one, thank you very much. Finally, there's the Commodore 64 game, which it was initially developed for, to my knowledge, known here by its full name, Challenge of the GoBots on the Mobius Strip. It has a slightly different menu, and there's no mention of the settings this time, although you can still get to them by pressing F1 and F3, and of course it probably has the best version of the in-game music since it's the excellent SID chip driving it. Once in the game, it's pretty much exactly what you've come to expect by now. Shoot stuff, don't die, don't throw up, etc. The controls are thankfully spot on with this version, and the animation and screen scrolling is very smooth. It's still incredibly tough to control due to how ridiculously twitchy and fast the game can be, but it really is all about taking your time. At least in this version, when you die, it's pretty much your own fault, and not screwed up collision detection or because you can't see what's what. So on the whole, I would say this is the best version of the game. But does that mean it's any good? Well, I don't know about that. This is aggravating because I do want to enjoy this game and I want to recommend it. It's got serious personality in the packaging and instructions. It's got cool music both in the game and on the audio cassette. It's got a freaking virtual book to read. It's made by Tony Crowther, and it's freaking GoBots, the bizarre underdogs of the transforming robot world. But I really can't recommend it wholeheartedly because it's simply a pain to play. It's too fast and twitchy for its own good, even in a C64 form, and beyond that, it's just not very fun for very long. Yeah, you can get used to all the quirks and the weird stuff about it, but for whatever reason I just don't care to. The gameplay just falls flat. So Challenge of the GoBots is a game I'd only recommend to hardcore collectors of games, or hardcore collectors of GoBots merchandise, if such a creature actually exists.